Warning, F-bombs are armed and might be dropped. We're coming out of it now, so that's a good thing, but there's still some talk about a second civil war. The great news is that this second civil war, the last great battle, the Gettysburg of the second civil war, really was 4 November 2017. Now, for those of you that don't remember, Antifa swore, we're going to rise up. You know, what is it? November 4 it begins. Remember that? Yeah. And did they? Really? No. Nobody showed up. There was a riot in Portland. I think there was another riot up in Seattle. There was a street blocked in New York. That's it. They got one intersection kind of partially blocked. There was a pretty good rally in Los Angeles. 75% of it was nothing to do with Antifa at all. It was SEIU that showed up. All right. That was the left's Gettysburg. And with that, if you remember U.S. history, the American Civil War, the so-called first one, which is like the fourth, that's when the war basically started to end. That was the death blow. After that, it was more of a long holding action, and now we're seeing it. Yes, they're still fighting with Proud Boys, mostly up in Seattle and New York, I think it is. But that's it. They're still rallying in Berkeley. I haven't even heard of a fight in Berkeley since then. Now, maybe it's happened and I just haven't heard about it, but that would be pretty big. And to not hear anything about it, that strikes me as very interesting at best. Maybe this is bad news for some, and specifically some conservative types. The war is basically over. The Second Civil War is basically over. But don't rest on that. There's always a possibility that they could find new funding, and let's be honest, that's where the problem really lay. With Soros or whoever it was funding them, deciding, it's not worth it anymore. There are others that could fund it, and I'm talking about Iran. I am virulently anti-Iranian government. Right? I hate Tehran. I hate the policies that they've embraced. I hate the strategic plans that they've embraced. Tehran was the reason why ISIS existed. Right? ISIS was nothing more than their mercenaries. They're disposable mercenaries at that. And the moment ISIS went off the reservation, that's when Iran turned on them and left them to die. But don't think that that's the end of it at all. Hamas is still an Iranian mercenary army. They could step in for funding with Antifa. They could step in with funding for dozens of other related groups. They could step in and start funding basically large-scale riots. They're not going to fund guns. They're not going to run guns. They're not going to run explosives, most likely. But they could still step in and aid in smaller ways. And we need to be aware of this. I don't talk about this a whole lot, but the U.S. is actually about 48 hours away from massive coast-to-coast rioting at any given time. If you can shut down one particular part of the economy, and it's not that hard, for about 48 hours, you could launch the entire country into coast-to-coast rioting. And I don't mean little scuffles. I mean major army must be called in to restore order rioting. Probably even beyond the ability of the National Guard to restore order by themselves. What role the Army would serve in this event is another question entirely. Hopefully not as frontline riot cops, but some of the places it could get that bad. And I really am thinking of some of the much bigger places, Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, where it is just too many people too tightly together and you need to restore order quickly. Having said that, I sincerely doubt that there will be B-52 strikes. I sincerely doubt there'll be A-10 strikes even. Helicopters buzzing by? Maybe. But fixed-wing aircraft in actual combat roles? Probably not. Call that good news or bad news, I don't care. It is what it is. We're always 48 hours away from that apocalypse. And if those who know this to be true wanted to carry that out, they could do it. It would take a lot of money. It would take a lot of sociopathology. But you could do it. So that's something to be concerned about. That would actually have to be a whole new war. Antifa would have to actually go away because they're useless now. As an army, they're broken. They're as broken as Lee was after Gettysburg, and as, not Stuart, but Pickett said after the battle, I have no command. Soros has no command left. Time to start over? I'm hoping not. I'm hoping that just having said publicly that I know what you're thinking will cause those that are thinking that way to say, maybe we need to wait another generation. I'm going to make the whole world an offer, though. I've been really cagey. I've never really specifically said what it is that I'm thinking. Like, we're 48 hours away from civil war. Yeah? In 2 years, if I see a sea change in public discourse, which means no more rioting and no more pepper spraying people for standing talking to a camera, no more throwing crowd control barriers through windows and chanting "burn him out," no more of that shit, I will publicly talk about the 48-hour thing. Until then, the rest of you, not Antifa, fuck you guys. Keep calm and mandatory carry on. And go see Alita. Listen to the doctor very, very carefully.